Long-term adherence to a vegan diet has been associated with profound changes in the composition and diversity of the gut microbiome, a complex ecosystem of bacteria, fungi, and other microorganisms that play a pivotal role in human health. While vegan diets are widely celebrated for their cardiovascular benefits, lower risk of type 2 diabetes, and anti-inflammatory potential, emerging research is showing that the gut microbiome, the trillions of microorganisms residing in the gastrointestinal tract, adapts in unique ways to the patterns of nutrients, fiber, and plant compounds that define this lifestyle. These changes are not merely incidental, they have far-reaching implications for immunity, metabolism, and even mental health, offering a lens into how diet can actively shape the body's internal ecosystem for long-term wellness. The most striking aspect of the microbiome in long-term vegans is an increase in the abundance of bacteria that specialize in fermenting dietary fiber. Plant-based diets are naturally high in soluble and insoluble fibers, resistant starches, and polyphenol, all of which serve as food sources for these microorganisms. When these fibers are broken down in the colon, they produce short-chain fatty acids such as butyrate, acetate, and propionate. These metabolites serve multiple beneficial functions. They strengthen the gut lining, reduce systemic inflammation, regulate blood sugar levels, and even influence lipid metabolism. In practical terms, this means that long-term vegans may enjoy enhanced gut barrier integrity, improved insulin sensitivity, and a lower baseline of chronic inflammation, all of which are protective against cardiovascular disease, metabolic syndrome, and certain autoimmune conditions. From a positive perspective, this illustrates how a consistent, fiber-rich diet encourages the growth of microbial populations that actively contribute to systemic health, rather than merely existing passively in the gut. Vegan diets also appear to increase the diversity of microbial species, a feature often linked to resilience and robustness of the gut ecosystem. Microbiome diversity is considered a hallmark of gut health, as a wider array of microorganisms can carry out a broader range of biochemical functions, outcompete harmful pathogens, and adapt more readily to dietary or environmental changes. For example, certain bacterial strains that proliferate on a vegan diet help metabolize plant polyphenol, which are powerful antioxidants. These compounds not only support digestive health, but also contribute to systemic antioxidant defenses, potentially reducing oxidative stress in organs such as the liver, heart, and even the brain. Increased microbial diversity in long-term vegans has also been associated with enhanced production of vitamins such as folate, vitamin K2, and certain B vitamins, which are essential cofactors in numerous enzymatic reactions, energy metabolism, and neurological function. This demonstrates that the gut microbiome is not only influenced by dietary patterns, but also functions as a collaborator in maintaining overall physiological balance. The implications for immunity are particularly compelling. Short-chain fatty acids and other microbial metabolites modulate immune responses by interacting with regulatory T cells and influencing cytokine production. In other words, the microbial changes induced by a vegan diet can help fine-tune the immune system, making it more efficient at responding to infections while reducing the likelihood of overactive inflammatory responses. This aligns with epidemiological observations showing lower markers of systemic inflammation among people following plant-based diets for extended periods. While the exact mechanisms are still being elucidated, the connection between dietary fiber, microbial metabolites, and immune modulation underscores a positive, symbiotic relationship. The diet nourishes the microbiome nourishes the body, and the outcome is a more resilient immune system. Mental health is another area where long-term vegan diets may exert influence through microbiome changes. The gut-brain axis, a bidirectional communication network connecting the gastrointestinal tract and the central nervous system, is increasingly recognized as a key player in mood regulation, stress response, and cognitive function. Microbial fermentation of fiber and polyphenol produces not only short-chain fatty acids, but also neurotransmitter precursors such as serotonin and gamma-aminobutyric acid, GABA. These molecules can modulate brain signaling, potentially improving mood, reducing anxiety, and supporting overall cognitive health. While vegan diets are not a guaranteed panacea for mental health conditions, the evidence suggests that their impact on microbial populations may create a more favorable biochemical environment for neurotransmission and neuroprotection, highlighting another dimension of the diet's positive effects. It is important to acknowledge that not all microbiome changes are universally beneficial, and individual responses can vary based on genetics, previous diet, and environmental factors. Some studies have noted a reduction in certain bacterial species that are more commonly associated with protein and fat metabolism, which could influence nutrient absorption or metabolic flexibility in some individuals. However, these changes are context-dependent and often reversible. Introducing a moderate amount of diverse foods or probiotics can help maintain a balanced microbial community while preserving the benefits of a plant-based approach. Moreover, the overall increase in fiber-fermenting bacteria, microbial diversity, and production of health-promoting metabolites appears to outweigh these potential downsides for most people following a well-planned vegan diet. Beyond individual health, these findings also suggest a broader perspective on how diet can shape human microbe interactions for long-term wellness. Long-term vegan diets demonstrate that consistent dietary patterns can cultivate a gut ecosystem that actively supports immunity, metabolic health, and brain function. This emphasizes a holistic view of nutrition. The benefits of plant-based eating extend beyond calories, macronutrients, or vitamin content to include the complex interplay between diet, gut microorganisms, and systemic physiology. In other words, food is not just fuel. It is a tool for engineering a healthier, more resilient internal ecosystem. In conclusion, while long-term vegan diets produce measurable changes in the gut microbiome, these changes largely confer positive effects on immunity, metabolism, and mental health. The increase in fiber-fermenting bacteria, enhanced microbial diversity, and elevated production of short-chain fatty acids illustrate the body's adaptability and the symbiotic potential of diet and gut microbes. Even though some nutrient pathways may be affected or require careful attention, these effects can be managed with thoughtful dietary planning, supplementation if needed, and periodic monitoring. Ultimately, the research underscores the remarkable capacity of the human microbiome to respond to dietary patterns and highlights how long-term adherence to a plant-based diet can nurture a healthier, more resilient body and mind, offering benefits that extend well beyond traditional nutritional considerations.